Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this week's weekly recap of the news, a feature that you have now come to expect every Sunday, where we curate 5 choice videos from the channel and present it in a glossary magazine style for your Sunday listening. So the 5 selections for this week have been chosen, and we get straight into it, and we go first to a brewing battle between Malam Buhari and the pastor of the RCCG, the senior pastor of the RCCG, Enoch Adeboye. So Pastor Adeboye, a lot of you are aware, has been heavily criticized over a long period of time for his lack of public pronouncements on the goings-on in the country. So it looks as though the criticism has now gotten to the esteemed pastor, that along with the CAMA bill that the Nigerian government is introducing to look at the books of all these religious organizations. Anyway, whatever it is and whatever has led to it, Pastor Adeboye has found his voice and is speaking directly to Buhari, and that is all detailed in this first video, so enjoy. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, we're back with this simmering battle between the lead pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Adeboye, and Malam Buhari, the purported president of Nigeria. So Adeboye came out recently to criticize the Buhari regime and lean the country towards restructuring, saying that this is the only panacea to the myriad of problems that the country is contending with. So Adeboye said that, Pastor Adeboye said that, and of course Malam Buhari, we all know, was never going to let that go. So Buhari responds, as guys, I bring you this: presidency wants Adeboye others over comments on Nigeria. So this is a government, of course, that brooks no criticism. It doesn't want any dissenting voices, and it doesn't want any voice that runs contrary to what is going on in the country, or at least the way the country is being run by them. Again, the headline: presidency wants Adeboye others over comments on Nigeria. So now let's now see what clap back the Buhari regime is pointing in the direction of Adeboye. The presidency has warned Nigerians, asking President Muhammadu Buhari to take certain actions in order to avoid the country's breakup. The General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG, Enoch Adeboye, had at the weekend said it was time Nigeria was restructured or allowed to break up. The view expressed by the cleric has been a recurring one, as many other Nigerians had similar submissions. But apparently responding to those views in a statement on Sunday, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, said Buhari will not be moved by the recurring threat to the corporate existence of the country, with factions giving specific timelines for the president to do one thing or another, or else, in their language, the country will break up. Shehu's statement read in detail: this is to warn that such unpatriotic outbursts are both unhelpful and unwarranted, as this government will not succumb to threats and take any action out of pressure at a time when the nation's full attention is needed to deal with the security challenges facing it at the time of C-19 health crisis. Repeat, this administration will not take any decision against the interest of 200 million Nigerians, who are the president's first responsibility under the constitution. The country, under its present configuration, is unworkable. It has failed. Everybody knows that it has failed, and the failure is now more marked than ever under this Buhari regime, which is weighted exclusively towards his own people and his own religion, and woe betide and you be damned to the rest of the country. So this is the structure that Buhari runs, and I mean, I don't have to recount what is going on in Nigeria to you guys, because you all listen to the news and you all follow through. You all have relatives, and some of you even live there, so you all know what is going on with the Fulani herdsmen now taking over all of the major highways in the southwest. You can't travel from Lagos to Ondo without the fear of Fulani herdsmen. So that fear has now been instilled and installed in the hearts and minds of the Yoruba race in their own region, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing. In all of the times that I've been reading narratives and hearing narratives of these Fulani herdsmen, not once have I ever heard of one being caught and prosecuted and being made to face the law and pay for the crime that he has committed. So these people, of course, and by the way, just I seem to be interjecting and interrupting myself, but really I'm going with the flow of thought. So by the way, this is a country that purports to have a security structure. This is a country that purports to have a policing system and all sorts of paramilitary system and all sorts of security apparatus. So this Fulani herdsmen issue has been something that's been recurring and has escalated since 2015, and it's almost on a weekly, certainly if not a daily basis, that an incident occurs. So how can this thing be happening brazenly and openly, and we claim to have like a security structure with policing and and detectives and military and whatnot, paramilitary? I don't know, there are so many structures for security in Nigeria, you lose count. So all of these structures, none of them can once catch one of these people and then through that person that they have caught, then trace back to the source of this thing. So this is something that goes on and on. But then, of course, they are not required to catch these people, because these people are, of course, carrying out the will of their masters. You have to remember that Madam Buhari, the supposed president of Nigeria, a bit of background, so you are up on board, up to speed with what is going on, at least according to, from my own perspective, at least. So you see a lot of these churches and religious bodies, etc., they are registered as charities. Usually globally, that's the convention, and Nigeria is no different. So a church will be registered as a charity. So what does this mean? If they are registered as a charity, one, they are not required to pay tax, and two, their accounts are not really audited in the way that a corporate account is audited. So it's like a free goal, it's like an open goal, really. So they collect all of these monies, and you cannot really ask the church where the money that they are depositing in their accounts is coming from, because of course they will just tell you that it's from donations from the congregation. So a lot of these churches now, they are used as conduit for funneling illicit money, bribery and corruption money, ill-gotten gains, etc. A lot of these churches are actually used as as a money laundering vehicle to launder ill-gotten illicit money and to give it legitimacy. A lot of that goes on within the churches. I'm not saying this goes on within RCCG, but it goes on within the churches. So this is what that CAMA law is looking to address, and of course underpinning that is an attack, of course, against, of course, that Malam Buhari is on a religious agenda within the Nigerian space. So all of that is packaged in that CAMA law that has just been passed. I think he's had the second reading, hasn't he, in the Senate. I think it's now actually been passed to law. So that is an attack on the churches, and now Pastor Adeboye is piping up now to speak to the state of the nation. So this is something that he has never done before. He didn't do it under Goodluck Jonathan. He didn't really do it under. He never really does it. He will just say, God will guide us through. I believe in the country. This is what all he ever says. But now it's now having a more marked and more potent and more defined political position, and that political position, of course, is leaning towards restructuring, which is, of course, the breakup of the country. So I am of the thought, and it's just one of the many thoughts that I have around this matter, that this now is a pushback against that law of Buhari wanting to probe his accounts with this new law. Conversations in the comment section, the bishop and the Malami, an intriguing battle, is the same divide the two religions in locked horns again, but then in the Nigerian space. Who wins out, and how do you think this is going to play out? Come share thought. But before you do that, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well because that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, come join me then in the comment section. The Bishop versus the Malami. This is the two sides, but how do you see it panning out? So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace. Hope you enjoyed that. So we're still with Nigerian politics, of course, which is the main thrust of this particular channel. This time around, we're going to Tinubu and we're looking to 2023. So it looks as though Tinubu has started to move already to put structures in place for his bid for the Nigerian presidency in 2023. And that is all detailed in this second video. So enjoy. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, the race actually began in February 2019, shortly after Professor Mahmood Yakubu appointed Malam Buhari as the president of Nigeria for 4 years. So no surprises then, as guys, I bring you this. Tinubu opens presidential campaign headquarters in Abuja ahead of 2023. So of course, Tinubu, one of the leading names being touted as the next president of the country, has moved quickly now to start putting his structures in place for that race in 2023. Again, the headline, Tinubu opens presidential campaign headquarters in Abuja ahead of 2023. So now let's not get into the details of it. A former Lagos State governor and stalwart of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has quietly opened a campaign headquarters in a Maitama property that once housed a private school in Abuja. According to correspondents, the 2,700 square meters property, former home of Eagles Heights International School, sits just north of the Philippines Embassy at 2 Kianji Crescent and just across the street from the body of benchers which regulates admission into Nigerian legal education institutions. There were no immediate signs from the outside that the property holds Tinubu's campaign office, but sources within the campaign told the newspaper that activities have intensified inside for the former Lagos State governor's presidential bid. A campaign insider also told correspondents that the office was deliberately tucked between the conspicuous intersection of Kianji Crescent and Lake Chad Crescent because they needed a place that would provide just enough space needed to run the primaries exploration. Depending on how activities expand ahead of primaries and general elections, the campaign may still move to a location in downtown neighborhoods like Garki, Central Area, and Wuse. Tinubu has long been rumored to be interested in running for president, but he has sparingly obfuscated questions around his ambition and clearly has not begun open consultations as an aspirant. But his supporters have been coordinating in Lagos, Abuja, and elsewhere to work towards a seamless strategy that will see him clinch the APC presidential ticket. Abiodun Faleke, a senior lawmaker fabled for his acerbic take on parliamentary business, is a key coordinator of the new campaign office and will likely play a top role in Tinubu's run. The newspaper heard from sources involved in emerging decisions within the former governor's political circles. Tinubu's political circles are confident of his chances, but they could not tell yet whether or not they would address the numerous corruption allegations against him before the primaries. Although he has no active corruption trials pending against him and has previously been extricated by an anti-corruption trial, Tinubu nonetheless continues to face some of the most unsavory, enduring corruption perceptions in Nigeria. Even though he has continued to deny it, correspondents learned that Tinubu has been courting President Buhari and the cabal, a group of powerful power brokers, at the Aso Rock Villa, led by late Chief of Staff Abakari, with the hope of clinching the APC presidential ticket in 2023, but in what could be regarded as a killer punch on his political structure and 2023 ambition, President Buhari and other APC leaders in a meeting in June sacked the National Working Committee of the party, headed by his loyalist, Adams Oshiomhole. The former Edo State governor belongs to the Tinubu camp, and with him and his NWC out of the way, the chances of the ex-governor succeeding Buhari grew ever slimmer. Tinubu had also convinced himself that by surrendering his loyalty to President Buhari and the cabal, he would be able to curry the favor of the northern parts of the country for his presidential ambitions. Sources revealed that Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong, Governor of Jigawa State Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti, Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State, as well as Senator Ibikunle Amoson and Transport Minister Rotimi Amechi, all belong to a common bloc that has sworn to embarrass and ridicule Tinubu's presidential ambition and bury it permanently. So there you have Tinubu now. It's ever match. They're saying he opened this office in 2020, but then of course his campaign for the presidential seat has started as far back as 1999. So this is a guy that has always nursed that ambition, and a large part of all of the monies that he has been stealing, he has been looting, is really to build up a war chest to launch at that seat. This is the number one thing that this guy wants above all else. And even when he used Malam Buhari to beat Goodluck Jonathan out of office, to whip Goodluck Jonathan out of office, he did that again with the calculation that he will use Buhari to force Goodluck Jonathan out of office, and then he would succeed Buhari. So all of his plans has worked so far, but then that final step, of course, is always the most difficult. So here you now have people now circling around this guy, saying that they don't want him. And by the way, that Oshiomhole that they removed as the chairman of the APC is quite a potent blow to the Tinubu ambition, because Oshiomhole, of course, was there to pave the way for Tinubu to succeed Buhari. He was just going to foist Tinubu on the APC as its candidate, and whoever the APC candidate is, of course, is likely to be the next president of Nigeria, especially given what we saw in February 2019 when they just wrote results and declared themselves into positions. So we know that there's no elections taking place in 2023. It's the same thing that we had in February 2019 that we will have in February 2023. So whoever does get that ticket for the APC is going to be the next president. That's almost a certainty. So the presidential seat in 2023 is effectively going to be determined at the APC primaries. So a lot of people, of course, have that ambition, and a lot of them are at that age and stage in life now that 2023 is their last opportunity, because of course whoever gets it in 2023 will hold on to it for 8 years. And if you look at the medium age of a lot of these people with that ambition, you see that it doesn't bode well for them to wait another 8 years. What is El-Rufai? El-Rufai is in his mid to late 60s. So by the time 2023 comes and goes, and you add another 8 years to his years, he will be in his mid to late 70s. So and I think the move then by that time will be enough of all these old people. So this is El-Rufai's last chance. This is definitely Tinubu's last chance, because Tinubu now is a man in his late 60s, probably early 70s. So this is his last chance as well. This is the last chance of pretty much people like Kayode Fayemi. All of the names that are listed, in fact, this is their last chance, because these people are serving governors, they are serving their second term, and when 2023 comes and goes, their political relevance goes with that. At best, they will be able to buy themselves a senatorial seat and go sit in the Senate and make the occasional noise like Rochas Okorocha and the rest of them. But really, their political potency is gone by 2023. So that 2023 is the last card for a lot of them, and all hands are on deck, of course, to make sure that they get their will. Conversations in the comment section. Tinubu has opened a campaign office in Abuja, but then of course he has been campaigning since 1999. Come share thoughts, what says you? But before you come share thoughts, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well because that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, come join me then in the comment section. Come tell me what you're making of this Tinubu maneuvering and what you think it implies and what you think the end game is. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section. But here I say peace. Hope you enjoyed that. So now we're now looking to the Nigerian state and its economy. So there's a lot of shouts that are recurred constantly within the Nigerian space about debts being accumulated by the Nigerian state that will be vested upon generations yet unborn. So in this next video, we're now adding figures to that debt. So just you know that the magnitude of debt that your children will carry for the Nigerian state is quite eye-watering. So in this video now, we go through now the record level of borrowing that Nigeria has attained under this particular regime, but all that is detailed in this upcoming video, so enjoy. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, staggering amount of debt in the midst of a staggering amount of poverty. As guys, I bring you this record-breaking $86 billion debt leaves Nigerians stunned. So Nigeria is now at a record high in debt. We have never owed this much in debt before, but then of course it is not so much the debt that is the issue, but the impact of it. So there can be two impacts that this sort of debt carries. One impact good and the other impact bad. So let's go with the good impact first. So $86 billion is what we're owing now under this Buhari regime. So now if we're seeing that $86 billion in railways being built all over the country, good roads, good infrastructure, life being alleviated for Nigerians, and we're seeing positive impacts on the infrastructural deficit especially, but then of course on the quality of life of the people more importantly, then that of course is a justification for that level of debt. But we're not seeing any of that at all. What we are seeing is the country plummeting to the poverty capital of the world, the petroleum going up in terms of the pump price, food has gone up, the wages have stagnated, there's no quality of life within the Nigerian space, and in fact the quality of life has regressed. So this is what we see. We see a real brutal form of existence in this high debt record that the country has now attained. So again, the headline, record-breaking $86 billion debt leaves Nigerians stunned. So now let's now see how this debt is being justified by the Buhari regime. Nigeria's debt of $85.9 billion, the highest in history, has become the talking point even as the country celebrates its 60th anniversary. The pressure on the economy has caused an 8.31% increase in debt owed from the total of $79.3 billion record in March. By December 2005, Nigeria was rated as one of the most heavily indebted countries, owing $33.9 billion. Now the talk is on whether the money borrowed has helped or burdened the country. So that is the point that I was making in my opening monologue. Is it a help or a burden? I think a lot of people will tell you that it is a burden. In fact, it is factually a burden because Nigeria continues to regress. But we carry on. Abuja's debt obligation had gone down in 2006 after the country got debt relief. So you recall, of course, that this was one thing that Obasanjo did, that he cleared the country's debt and gave Yar'Adua a debt-free economy. So we pick it up from the top again. Abuja's debt obligation had gone down in 2006 after the country got debt relief. The Paris Club of Creditors wrote off 18 billion of that debt, while the country paid off the balance and became largely debt-free. However, in the years that followed, the public debt spiraled as officials argued for funding budget deficits and critical infrastructures. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, 35.89% of the total federal and state public debt is external, while domestic accounts for 65.11%. The Debt Management Office DMO reported that the increase by $6.59 billion was accounted for by the $3.36 billion budget support loan from the International Monetary Fund, new domestic borrowing to finance the revised 2020 Appropriation Act, including the issuance of sukuk and promissory notes issued to settle claims of exporters. So this is now Mortgaging the Future is the subtitle that we're going to now. The nation's 2020 Appropriation Act had to be revised in the face of the adverse impact of C-19 on revenues and increased expenditure needs on health and economic stimulus, amongst others, the DMO explained. In spite of DMO's reasoning, some stakeholders are concerned that Nigeria remains dependent on oil as the sole revenue generating resource for such a long time without diversification to other revenue generating sources. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar raised the stakes when he accused the government of mortgaging the future of Nigerians and having nothing to show for amassing such debt. Nigerians' sovereignty may have been traded for foreign loans, and God forbid our inability to service those loans. The lender country would take ownership of choice infrastructures on Nigeria's soil, he said. President of the Progressive Shareholders Association of Nigeria, Boniface Okeze, says the debt stock is a cause for worry due to the government's declining revenue. Disagreeing with critics, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed said the ratio of debt to GDP is one of the lowest in the world at 19% as at December 31st, 2019. Unlike in the past, when the nation borrowed to service the crass indulgence of a few fat cats, the loans being obtained by the current administration were being primarily used to finance infrastructures such as roads, railways, bridges, and power. He added that the loans also were long-term in nature, which would benefit present and future generations. President Muhammadu Buhari on September the 28th at a virtual meeting with Presidential Economic Advisory Council justified the borrowing. So this is not it's staggering, because anytime you look to the Nigerian space, you see roads that are more like potholes and rivers than roads. There's no real structure to anything. There's no electricity. The policing system is understaffed. Everything is a wreck, and yet the country continues to borrow and borrow. So where is now all this money is going to? They are saying they are building the second Niger Bridge, and they are building the what is it called, the Lagos to Ibadan Railway. So these are just two projects, and I don't see how those two projects are an $86 billion spend. I don't see it. Those two projects at the most will cost $1 billion, $1.5 billion, no more than $2 billion. Certainly not $86 billion dollars. So now for fairness and balance, some of these debts would have been carry over debts from previous administrations. But of course, we know that Obasanjo left a debt-free economy for Yar'Adua. So between Yar'Adua, Goodluck Jonathan, and the now Buhari regime is this money, this 86 point something billion dollars. So the debt profile of the Goodluck Jonathan regime was about 30 to 33 billion dollars. So effectively now, what we have now had in the 5 years that Buhari has been in government is a $50 billion debt. So $50 billion has been taken now at the expense of the Nigerian people by the Buhari regime. But what impact have we seen that is worth that $50 billion that has been taken by the Malam Buhari regime? So they are borrowing this money and they are saying they are using it as social security funds and whatnot, and they're giving it to what is she called, Sadia Farouk, and is going under that department as social welfare and whatnot. So they are borrowing money to spend on things that do not generate any money. So I don't really get the logic, but of course we know they're just borrowing it and looting it. They are taking these loans, mortgaging the future, as our people say, and then just keeping this money for themselves, as that's the okay, we're here for 8 years and we just take as much as we can and you deal with it. If it falls, it falls. I mean, we have several countries that we have houses and legal residence in, and we just walk away. So this is just what is going on now. But the debt burden now is enough to break the back of that country. But will the back of that country be broken before Malam Buhari leaves that space is really where the question is. Remember, of course, we still have another 3 years and a bit of this man to contend with, and those 3 years is not going to stop the borrowing now. It's going to continue the borrowing. So by the time this guy leaves office, if he's going at the same speed, if he borrowed 50 billion in his first term, and let's say he borrows, let's say measure for measure, it takes another 50 billion in his second term, so he's already taken 100 billion, and we're talking dollars, by the way, not naira. He has already taken 100 billion out of the Nigerian economy. But what impact does that have? Does that borrowing have, or in terms of infrastructure or anything? Is zero effectively, or minuscule, if we're being factual in detail. The weight of the debt burden has now reached a record high now within the Nigerian space, $86 billion. So I mean, the outcry has to start now, and a reaction to this has to be really felt, because of course if there's no reaction to this, remember now, to pay back this money, they're having to now squeeze even more blood out of the Nigerian person. So they have removed the so-called oil subsidy. I don't believe there's any oil subsidy in the first instance. So what they're saying is, in effect, is that they are going to increase the price of petroleum to service these debts that they have borrowed and pocketed. So they go and take all of this money and then they squeeze blood out of you to pay for the debt that has not impacted on your life. Conversations in the comment section is going to be in excess of $100 billion. I am predicting that the Malam Buhari regime is going to take out of the Nigerian space. Come share thoughts, but before you do that, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, come join me in the comment section. Come tell me what you're making of this debt burden that Malam Buhari is placing on the Nigerian state. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace. So next we go on to Babangida. He was recently interviewed as part of the packaging for the Nigerian 60th anniversary, and what this guy has to say would make your eyes twinkle. This guy apparently is of the thought that he holds no responsibility for the state that the country finds itself in, and all that is detailed in this upcoming video, so enjoy. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now a lot of you who follow this channel know that the favorite go-to word of this channel is unbelievable. That is a word that recurs in every other video. So guys, unbelievable, just keeping with tradition, unbelievable, as guys I bring you this, it is silly to blame the military for Nigeria's problem. Former military leader Ibrahim Babangida says. So Ibrahim Babangida, of course, if you are talking of corruption in Nigeria, that is the guy that a lot of people attributed the institutionalization of corruption in Nigeria to. This is the guy that made corruption the standard practice within the Nigerian space, because prior to Babangida, there was corruption in Nigeria, but the thief, the stealer, the looter, he will steal and hide away and try and cover his tracks, etc. But after Babangida and during Babangida, by the way, it was just mass looting. You remember that the most expensive election in Nigeria was conducted by Babangida, June 12 and all that. You remember that option A4 and all that nonsense that was doing, SDP and whatnot, creating two parties and then wasting billions and billions on fake elections and then just looting the money and then cancelling the election, saying that it's going to carry on. We saw all that to the point that it was forced out to hand over to Shoneka. So we saw all that. And remember also during Babangida's era, they will loot a whole ministry, completely empty the coffers of that ministry, and then they'll burn the building of that ministry to the ground. So we're talking about the very if you are looking for ground zero, the epicenter, the core, the one thing above all else that has led to the situation that we find ourselves in that country today, then you look no further than this same character, Babangida. But again, he says it is silly to blame the military for Nigeria's problems. Headline attributed to former military leader, or should we say dictator, Ibrahim Babangida. So now let's now see what Maradona has to say. Former military leader Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida has said that it will be a silly thing for Nigerians to blame the military for the problems plaguing the country. The 79-year-old former military leader stated this in a fresh interview with Channels Television. Babangida, who led Nigeria from 1985 to 1993, said the military cannot be blamed for Nigeria's problems because it was the civilian government that instituted a system upon which they operated. We did not create problems. We tried to provide the framework upon which subsequent governments could build upon. Most of the infrastructural developments, even the democracy, we midwifed it. We were able to capture what the world is doing now and bring them into our own country. I find it silly to say that we created the problems. It is a joint venture between the military and the civilians. You were there to show us how the system works. The institutions of governance and government, all these were civilian prerogatives, he said. Babangida dismissed the possibility of another coup in Nigeria. A sensible military man will not like to drag his country into a lot of problems and sanctions. The moment you take over a government, the regional and international bodies will come after you, and everything you want to do in terms of development will not be accepted. You cannot work on your own, he said. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you have Ibrahim Babangida trying to rewrite history and obviously to absolve himself. So if you're looking at Nigeria and if you're looking at the problems of that country, then you look no further than three names. So those names are Babangida 1, Abacha 2, and Buhari 3. Actually, it should be in the order sequence because it was actually Buhari that came before Babangida, and he looted his own. Then Babangida came to do his own looting, and then of course Abacha came and stole everything. And that of course is the genesis of all of the problems that we have within the Nigerian state today. So if Abiola had had his turn as the president of Nigeria, remember Abiola was planning to introduce a social security sort of system to the Nigerian place, and it was having all these infrastructural development plans, which gelled with a lot of people. Abiola won then in Kano, which was the home state. I think who was it? Was it Tofa that contested against him? Abiola won in Kano State, the home state of the person that was contesting against him. They trumpeted that election as the freest in the history of Nigeria, but yet they said no. So why did they say no? You don't really need to look any far to find the reasons why they did say no, because of course they did not say no for the betterment of Nigeria. No, they said no for two reasons and two reasons only: money and power. So these are the two things that these people care about the most. And by the way, forget about all this ethnicity and religion that we trumpet a lot and we cry about a lot within the Nigerian space. The ethnicity and religion are just tools that these people use to hold themselves in situation, but their real want are those two elements that I just mentioned: money and power, and that is something that they would compromise nothing to get. A lot of these people, they have bills and bills of dollars stacked in their strong rooms in their homes. If you see some of these clips that I'm sure a lot of you would have seen anyway, all these clips of all these malamis stacking dollars in their house, I'm talking about bills and bills. I'm talking hundreds of millions, and they're countless of them. So this is really where the thing is, and the underpinning of all that is of course the military intrusions that we've had within the Nigerian space. So starting with the I think it was the Igbo coup that has kicked it off. I can't remember the name of the person that did that coup in the 60s, which was then replaced by Gowon, who tried his best, but then the Biafra interruption, and then of course we've had that spiraling all the way through. So if you look at all of the names that are responsible for the destruction of that country, they are military names and military names alone. So you look at Gowon, you look at Obasanjo, you look at Abacha, you look at Buhari, and you look at Babangida. So those five names are responsible for the state of that country. So if you have any other name that you want to add to that and have an argument that buttresses it, then I'd like to hear what names you have. But for me personally, if you look at the trajectory of that country called Nigeria, the destruction of it is circled round those five names: Gowon, Obasanjo, Buhari, Babangida, and Abacha. That is the destruction of Nigeria right there, those five names. But then of course, if you have other thoughts, then I'd like to hear all about it in the comment section. But before you come share those thoughts, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, come tell me then what your take is on what this military dictator is saying, that is not responsible for the state of the nation that we are having to endure as it is of today. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section, but here I say peace. Hope you enjoyed that. So we round it off with the fifth video, and we're going to Lagos State. This time around, we're not going to visit the governor, Sanwo-Olu. We're not even going to visit the patriarch of the state, the bullion van loving Bola Tinubu, but we're going to the House of Parliament, or Assembly as they call it in Lagos State, and we're going to visit the Speaker of that space. So apparently Mudashiru Obasa, his name is, so apparently nothing's changed, and this guy, of course, like everybody else in Lagos State, has been dipping his hands into the tills of the state and helping himself, to the point actually that his wife was put on a stipend of 10 million naira a month with reasons not explained. But all of that is detailed in this final video, so enjoy. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, when we get into the details of this particular narrative, it is going to shock you. I am not going to use the word unbelievable, because this even goes beyond unbelievable. As guys, I bring you this: Lagos Assembly Speaker Obasa denied bail by EFCC to spend the night at Commission's office. So that is the number 3 citizen of Lagos State as we speak, as of this moment, as you are hearing this narration now. So you have the governor, you have his deputy, and then the next in line, of course, which is the equivalent of the Senate leader at the federal level, is the leader of the House of Assembly, which is this Obasa. So he is now being held at the EFCC facilities in Lagos. And when you get to find out the reasons why this guy is being held, it will stagger you. But again, the headline, Lagos Assembly Speaker Obasa denied bail by EFCC to spend the night at Commission's office. So now let's now find out what's led to this. Speaker of Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, has been denied bail by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission after he was invited for questioning earlier on Thursday. It had been reported on Wednesday that Obasa and some top accounting officials in the Lagos Assembly were invited by the EFCC for questioning. Obasa honored the invitation at about 10 a.m. on Thursday and was grilled for many hours by top officials of the anti-graft agency. Against his expectations, he was denied bail by the EFCC, forcing him to be kept for the night at the Commission's office. Correspondents gathered that Obasa's wife, accused of collecting 10 million naira monthly allowance from the Assembly's coffers, was invited earlier in the week by the AFCC and was granted bail after hours of grilling. Upon her release, she was said to have accused wives of other lawmakers in the Lagos State House of Assembly of abandoning her in such a period of crisis, despite also enjoying from the free disbursement of public funds by her husband. Recall that correspondents had earlier reported that the EFCC obtained a court order granting the temporary forfeiture of 3 bank accounts belonging to Obasa. The court order was obtained from the Federal High Court, Lagos, on September the 15th, 2020. The bank accounts are to be frozen pending an investigation by the EFCC. The 3 bank accounts frozen are domiciled in Standard Chartered Bank under the name Mudashiru Ajayi Obasa. In obtaining the ex parte order, the EFCC said the bank accounts were being investigated for conspiracy, diversion of funds, abuse of office, and money laundering. Correspondents had in earlier series reported details of how Obasa had engaged in looting of public funds since he became Speaker of the Assembly. It was revealed how he operated over 64 bank accounts using different names to steal public funds. To conceal his identity, the speaker changed his name and date of birth in some of the accounts. Aside from using Ajashi Mudashiru Obasa, he also used Obasa Abdulrahman Gbadonola and Gabriel Adeboye Savage to register some of the bank accounts. Correspondents also exposed how Obasa awarded contracts to himself using different companies owned by him and how he got the Assembly to approve 258 million naira for the printing of invitation cards for the inauguration of lawmakers 2 months after the event held. So now this is now this guy now Obasa of course is trying to mirror the goings on of his forebears, because of course we know what Tinubu did to Lagos State, and now of course now his followers are now doing similar things. So now just look at that last paragraph that we just read. This just it before those, the mind is quite staggering. It says that it was exposed how Obasa awards contract to himself using different companies owned by him and how he got the Assembly. So this is the pertinent part, and how he got the Assembly to approve, now wait for the amount of money, 258 million naira for printing of invitation cards. So that is staggering enough, 258 million naira for printing invitation cards. Remove the million and put thousands in there, and it's still questionable. If it was 258,000 naira, it is still questionable. But no, 258 million naira for the printing of invitation cards. That is what he used it for. Cardboard and a bit of ink on top of it. That is what they spent 258 million naira for in Lagos State. But is that alarming enough? It is not. What were those invitation cards meant for? Well, the printing of the invitation cards was for the inauguration of lawmakers, which is to welcome them to their own chambers, as though they did not fight hard to get there. So it is the printing of invitation cards. Now, this is the killer part. This next 5-6 words that you will hear is the most damaging of all. So printing of invitation cards for the inauguration of lawmakers, we already know that. So now listen to this. 2 months after the event held. Just listen to that. So 2 months after they had already inaugurated the lawmakers into wherever they needed to be inaugurated into, which is the House of Assembly in Lagos State. 2 months after that inauguration took place, this chancer, this joker, this thief, then went and took 258 million naira to print invitation cards for an event that took place 2 months prior. So this is it's beyond criminal. It's staggering when we hear some of these things. You know, this is even worse than the snake that swallowed millions of naira in JAMB office. These ones are now retrograding or regressing. I don't know quite the language of an invitation to send it back as though they had some sort of time machine. Maybe he will use some sort of time machine to send those invitations back 2 months, so that they are then relevant for the purpose that he is now alleging that he spent 258 million naira of Lagos State money. And I don't. Sometimes I stutter. It's not because I have a speech impairment, but I cannot fathom and I cannot find the words to qualify some of these things that you hear within the Nigerian space. But you've heard it, and you've heard it quite clearly and quite brazenly. And this guy now has the effrontery now to query why the EFCC are detaining him in their office. It is not the EFCC's office that this guy should be, of course. It's in Panti, it's in Area 1, or whatever the most criminal places within the police service where they put the hardcores. This is where this guy should be, or Kirikiri. This is a guy that should be in Kirikiri. Never mind EFCC facilities. Conversations in the comment section, they are now back dating the looting in a Back to the Future sort of Doctor Who sort of fashion. He goes into a TARDIS and he goes back to the past to go and spend 258 million naira. Come share thoughts. But before you do that, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Then, we haven't done all that. Come join me in the comment section. Back to the Future is what we're talking about now. A new layer, a new angle in the Nigerian corruption lexicon. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section. But here, I say, peace. Hope you enjoyed that. So those are the 5 videos for this week. I hope they met with your expectation, and I'd like to hear your thoughts, particularly on the debt that Nigeria owes, because that video did not actually get the traction that I imagined that it would get when I posted it, because of course this is one of the key things that should bother Nigerians, and I hope it does bother you, because of course there is no returns on the debt that we can see in terms of infrastructure, etc. So that's one video that like your response on, but I would really like your response on all of the videos that have been detailed for this week. So that response usually takes place in the comment section, where conversation usually takes place on this channel. But before you come into the comment section to engage, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps with with the YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, then come join me in the comment section. Come tell me how you have engaged with this week's selection. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section. But here, I say, peace.